and welcome to the Pat podcast. This is the first in a series of podcasts, which means that it'll probably last for all of one attempt, and then it'll probably phase out like everything else. I always like to start with optimism. Very important. So, why am I doing a Pat podcast? I don't know. I enjoy listening to podcasts, so I figure, why not do a podcast? I am here with my trusty friend Rum, and I thought I would just talk about some stuff that happened to me today. That's all any of us can ever do if you're meeting with somebody after work for a drink. What do? You talk about your day, right? And hope you don't bore them to death. So, I'm going to just jump to the very end, actually, because I got home, and immediately something weird happens. I have this thing in my life where weird things happen. Do you have weird things that happen to you? I'm sure you do. I am hesitant to do adult chores. As a gentleman, one is responsible for taking out the trash, one feels, for, let's say, pulling the weeds. Let's say cleaning the grill. Let's say grilling in general, which, if you've seen some of my other videos, you know I'm not quite the grillist. Well, today was one of those times where I took the trash out to the curb, and I know I'm supposed to do that every week, but sometimes, I don't know about you guys, but I let it go a week. I mean, if it's not a whole lot of trash, I don't see the point. I feel like I'm wasting the garbage man's time, right? So what I do is, this weekend I was responsible, and I made sure everything that I could find that was junk was in there, and I go to the trash can to take it out to the curb, and as I'm taking it out to the curb, there's a car coming down the street, and he literally does a U-turn right in front of me, and I'm blocking his way, holding my trash cans. And I'm thinking, no, he's just trying to do a U-turn so he can go the other direction, right? No! This jackass waits for me to stop so he can park right in front of my house and then run across the street to, I guess, where he was going. You see, I have no problem with adult responsibilities. It's just that if I put my trash cans where they're supposed to go, he's not going to be able to get out. So his only alternative is to hit my trash cans, right? I don't do awkward situations. I really don't. I don't handle them well. And it's not because I get utterly upset and furious, and I get really quiet. And so what I do is I just very aggressively put my two trash cans right there on the curb. Before I realized his wife was in the car, I turn and I take a picture of the car with the license plate, because I figured if this guy, for whatever reason, decides he's going to knock over my trash cans, who are you going to report it to? 911.
Yes, there was a mean guy who parked in front of my house, and now I had to put my trash cans behind him, and he knocked them over. Can you send someone out, please?
They don't care. No one cares about that stuff. But it happens to me, and it's like, could you not have done this like 5 minutes early? And it was right as I was taking out the trash. He could have waited maybe 10 minutes, circled the block. Hey, this gentleman's putting his trash out. Perhaps I should find another place to park. No, has to do it right then. I went inside, and like the super sleuth that I am, peeking through the windshield, checking to make sure that he doesn't hit my trash cans down, because I know there's nothing I can do about it at this point, but at the very least, if he knocks it down, I can go and pick up my trash cans, right? I'm just waiting to see if he's going to do that. Thank God he didn't. My God, what a jackass. I mean, would you do that to somebody? And maybe it's a symptom of where I live. I just want to say it as cleanly and as nicely as possible, no pun intended. That here, it's kind of like, you're doing the wrong thing. It's kind of like when you're driving. You've waited way too long to merge, but you got to get over, right? Like, so you're just kind of like, you look at the guy to the left of you, and you're kind of like, you merge anyway? And it makes you a jackass? That's exactly what this was. Is that there was no remorse. There was no shame in it. There was like a smile on his face. And that's the other thing, too. When he turned around and he saw me and he was waiting, he looked at me kind of like, what am I supposed to do? You're clearly in the wrong here. This is my house. There's plenty of other places to park. There's no need for you to have to park right here at this time. But no. So anyway, that's the end of my day. Brilliant. We could just stop the podcast there. We could just stop this Pat podcast. We'll just stop it right there because seriously, that's the climax of everything that's happened to me today. People ask me why I drink rum. That's why. Don't drink. It's bad for you. So, many of you that have listened to the podcasts, which if you haven't watched them, please watch them. Not, please. Please. They know me as, I've also been on other podcasts before, and I've told a lot of stories, but I think for the most part, people that know me from Jackass Express, let's face it, if you're watching Jackass Express at this point in time, you either know who I am or you don't. And if you don't, I don't blame you, but at the same time, I would be shocked because I'm probably mostly on everything, but that's okay because I love doing this, and I have fun doing this. Maybe it's because Jackass Express is a place where you can complain about jackasses or be one. I am married. I have a kid. I work in insurance. I can't say where. You'll notice in the intro, I accidentally was still wearing my shirt when I did the intro. I'm going to have to reshoot it one day. I accidentally had my work shirt on, and I can't disclose that. I'm expecting another kid, and I'm super excited about that. And I feel weird almost having 2 kids because I still feel like a kid, and I still feel like I want to figure out what I'm going to be when I grow up. And in the meantime, I like making silly videos. I like watching videos. I like making people laugh. I like making people smile. I think that's a very important endeavor in this world. There's so much negative news in the world. You don't need constant reinforcement. I mean, how weird is it that you could listen? I mean, okay, this whole YouTube era that we live in where everything's demonetized, everything's hard to make original content, right? Like what I'm doing right now, it's not anything groundbreaking, right? It's just what a person does so that they have a shot to get seen on YouTube. But, I don't think that's the real reason why people do this stuff. I really don't. I think the real reason people do this stuff is because it's almost therapeutic in a way. Because you're getting your frustration out, and for some reason it's much easier to talk to someone that you know is that you don't know, that could be listening, that might not be listening, but you talk to them anyway because you have that desire to get all this information out, but you don't want to go around telling 50 million people what your problems are. So it's good to just say it once, get it out, and then people want to listen to it. Great. If they don't, they turn it off. I mean, how great is that? But you still got it out, so that's cool. But you'll learn quickly that my favorite transition is but or Everybody criticizes people who do that. I don't really care. So much negativity in the world. And if you're trying to be original, you know what you could do? Be somewhat positive. You can complain. Nothing's wrong with complaining. That's what the whole venting process is about. Well, I guess the first thing I did was complain, so I can't really say anything. I don't know. It's a lot harder to be positive. That's how you know a positive attitude is the right attitude. That's how you know positivity is correct. Here it is. You're just watching this for the first time already preaching at you. Forgive me. I'm not trying to be a preaching person. If you want to be original, have a positive, uplifting message. People are hardwired. I saw this in a video somewhere. They're hardwired to respond to negativity. That's why the 9 o'clock news doesn't talk about, positive things on a daily basis. I mean, yeah, once in a while you get...
a local man buys meal for starving grandmother.
And then, the grandmother,
Oh, thank you very much for Lubies.
they get married, and it's a whole thing. No, they're talking about, where did the car accidents happen? Where did somebody get shot today? Find out at 9. People who respond to negativity more often than you get them to respond to positivity because it's positive. Like, who cares that this person gave a bunch of puppies to a homeless orphanage for kids who lost their parents horrifically in a fire? They care more about the story about losing their parents than them about getting puppies. Because I mean the puppies, that's not interesting. They want to know how their parents died. They want to know why they're orphans. So that's what they put on the news, and every night they do that on the news. And if you don't believe me, go turn on your local news station. You'll get maybe one good story of little Susie who got a scholarship to some college, but then you're going to get plenty more stories about where the car flipped over, where the person got shot, where the teacher doing terrible, not teaching, they're not, They don't talk about the good teachers who helped little Susie get to college or whatever. They're going to talk about the teachers who did the bad things with the other students that ain't named Susie. I'm getting on my soapbox again. I'm on the soapbox. I don't know why they call it soapbox. Maybe because it's clean. And they say negative things in a funny way. And it's one thing that's part of your bit, if that's what you do. We got friends from Revolution of the Board and all that stuff. And I think they're hilarious. But they're messing with you on purpose. That's on purpose. But there's some people who just complain about stuff. And they make a joke about it, a really cynical joke. And they do it because they know they're going to get a bunch of people who will like their Facebook post, and they get some sort of endorphin rush on that. I mean, I'm all about Facebook. I love Facebook. But, I mean, at the very least, be truthful to who you are. Don't try to play the game that everybody else plays. I'm trying to think of an example. There's people I knew in high school, right? Super nice. And they're super great. And they were the best friends I ever had. And then it's like, slowly, on Facebook, everything was a problem for them. Having a cold was a problem. Headache is a problem. I mean, granted, there are real issues like financial strain or illness in the family. But them themselves, they complain about, I didn't sleep enough last night. I'm still tired. And they want people to respond to them either in two ways. One, ha ha ha. Or two, oh, I'm so sorry that happened to you. I am so sorry. They get a buzz off that, I guess. And it doesn't make sense to me. Against this generation. I love this generation because they seem to be some of the most positive people I know. But kind of mine to the latest generation is there's this weird, I mean, I don't know. They're in love with being down and complaining. And it drives me nuts. I don't know what that is. But I know it's not everybody. I know it's not me. And I know I'm not perfect. Sometimes I'll complain. But you don't do it on social media. You don't do it on Facebook. You don't. There's enough people doing that already. What do you want someone on the internet to do? Oh, feel better. People will respond to a positive feedback. So let's say someone says, I got a cold. And someone goes, suck it up, man. Why are you complaining on Facebook? That's so weird. Then the person can shoot back, you're being insensitive. Why are you even reading my status if you're going to be so insensitive? It's probably going to be helpful because they're trying to get you over yourself enough to be able to solve the problem. You shouldn't be airing these dirty laundry things in public. I mean, would you go to the middle of downtown, get a megaphone, and yell out, I'm sick and I'm feeling bad and I don't want to have to go to work? Yeah, people do that on Facebook every day. The only difference is you're protected by the screens, the monitor. If people don't like what you're saying, they're not going to come out. There's no dislike. I mean, there's a thumbs down now, but I mean, is there a thumbs down? I don't even remember. There's like a angry face or whatever. But they'll either like it or they won't say anything. So all you're going to see is either no one heard you or they love it. But you'll never see the people that dislike you. That's why I like YouTube. They are very quick to tell you when they dislike you. I love it. You know, there's no growth there. There's no growth that happens there, and it perpetuates this negative cycle, and it's so insane. And then you get the people that criticize people say negative things, and they'll come out and say negative things. And there's people that do this on a daily basis. It's like, is your life messed up every day? I mean, just by the law of averages, that's not possible. But I prefer to see a picture of your dog than hearing about how, oh, woe is me. Life is falling apart. Again. It was falling apart yesterday. I fixed it. So you can count it here. And now it's bad again. And not only is it bad again, but you should hear about it. So anyway, I don't want to go too long. This is just a brand new concept to me. I'm trying to think what else can I bitch about? Can I complain about? It's a hypocrite. Oh, I got an idea. I did a very dangerous thing. I'm asking the rest of the Jackass Express to ask me questions that I can answer here. And I'm going to answer them as honestly as possible. Hopefully they don't ask me to disclose anything too bad. Let's see what happens. Tip has a question. Did you see them? Them? These nuts. Thank you, Tip. Very helpful. Now Chase has a question. If a tree falls in the woods and no one is there to see it, is it covered by insurance? You know, this is the high quality level of professionalism that goes on with me and the guys here. Well, I guess if the tree fell on somebody's house, or if it was your tree and somebody else cut it down, which there was an incident where, I'm going to fib some of this story here, okay? Their neighbors' trees had pecans, It was just a bunch of pecan tree. It was a big pecan tree. We'll say that. And the pecans kept falling into the neighbor's yard. And it was frustrating to the point where the neighbor went over to him and said, look, I need you to either cut down the palm tree or just cut the leaves where it comes into my yard because I know you like pecans, but I don't. Could you please cut down the pecans? He said, yes, I'll get around to it. I'll get around to it. That's what he said. He said, I'll get around to it. I'll make sure it gets done. So then we get a claim from this individual here, and he says, you'll never believe what happened. The neighbor snuck into his yard and cut down his pecan tree. Or now there's a lawsuit because you're not supposed to sneak into other people's yards and cut down their tree. It was almost his way of being like, if you're not going to get around to it, I'll do it. But you can't go into other people's yards and do that. Tip asks, if you could teach everyone in the world one concept, what concept would have the biggest negative impact on humanity? If you could teach everyone in the world one concept, what concept would have the biggest negative impact on humanity? So in other words, the concept that I'm teaching would be the biggest negative impact. This is probably very easy because then I can just say any advice that I would normally give would probably be the biggest negative impact on humanity. Drinking will solve all your problems. Top of my head might be the biggest negative impact on humanity. Aside from that, every single one of your goals is achievable if you just get as emotional and entitled about it as possible. Make it personal. And nobody else deserves it as much as you do. And if they do get it, well, then that's because they just like them better. Have a cultural indifference, or they have cultural insensitivity, and it's their fault that you failed. It's so easy to not feel bad about yourself when it's always somebody else's fault. Oh, well, you don't know. They seriously did have problems. But yeah, that would be the most... I want to say that would be the biggest negative impact on humanity. Anything you want to be successful at, if you don't get it, be emotional about it, be entitled about it, wear a chip on your shoulder, and blame everybody else. Okay, so just for fun, and as a closing thing, I want to say the flip side of that. What would have the biggest positive impact? Don't take everything personal. Don't feel entitled to anything. Be grateful for what you already have. I don't want to get preachy. Yes, I do. You can turn it off at this point. If you like the show so far and you're happy with what you heard so far, you can go ahead and cut it off. Yeah, I won't be offended. I get it. Here's what I think is the best thing. You're not good at something, you can get better. You're not good at it for a long period of time after trying to get better, maybe you're better at something else. It's like it's a very usable example, but people on American Idol who everybody tells them that they're great singers and they get there and they're not great singers. What if they're a great artist? What if they're a great music producer? When I was in high school, I wanted to play the French horn so badly. I loved that thing. It sounded amazing. The French horn is what gives you the chills. It's amazing. But I sucked at it. And I kept thinking if I worked harder and harder and harder at it, I'd get better at it. And you know what? I told myself, oh, it's because my left hand shakes, and sometimes I do get left hand shakes, but it's because I have weird teeth. I never got braces, so I can't blow air right. My mouth's weird. No, the thing was I sucked at it. Plain and simple, I sucked at it. That's not any more explanation. And there's nothing wrong with sucking at things, because then that forces you to look for the things you're good at. Yeah, and that's after practicing. That's after trying. That's after trying to get a lesson. That's after, and here's the ironic part. I played the tuba, and I was amazing at it. And I hated the tuba so much. Because it was the symbol of what meant that I couldn't play the instrument that I wanted, and I should have done that, and I should have been able to do whatever I wanted. Well, that's not how life works. You get to play what you're good at. You get to do what you're good at. And you know what the weird thing is? You won't acknowledge yourself and be proud of yourself because that's not what you wanted to do. But almost everybody around you will be super happy for you and super excited for you because they'll see the potential you have in the thing you're actually good at. So if you focus on the things that you're good at, you may be the only one unhappy with yourself. Which is ironic because why does anybody do anything anyway? It's because they're trying to impress somebody anyway, or they're trying to do something to, well, I was just doing it so I could be happy. Okay, fine. If you're happy with being terrible at what you do, that's okay. If you're fine with going through it little bit by little bit and getting better and better and better, that's great. That's fine. But at some point, if you're blaming irrational things for your failures, you probably shouldn't be doing whatever it is you want to do. Maybe there's a reason you shouldn't be doing those things. Maybe you might have some success in the other thing. You do the thing that you're good at as opposed to the thing that you suck at but wish you were good at. I mean, I went to UTEP for a couple of years, but there was I found it hilarious. There was one year that we were watching a football game, and one of the receivers was a basketball player. I mean, think about that. He went in as a basketball player. That was probably his goal. That's what he wanted to do. But I'm sure he did both, or I'm sure he was great at both, but I bet you he was just a little bit better at football. Otherwise, why would they have asked him? I bet you his height had a lot to do with it, but it gave him a natural ability. That's the best advice I could give people, is don't get emotional about things. Don't make excuses for things that you can't do and somehow it's an emotionally charged subject. Accept what you're good at. Be proud of what you're good at. Keep practicing the things you're not good at. That's how you get better. But, I mean, if you don't get better, don't feel bad about it. There's just some things people can't do. Learn from those experiences. Grow from them. Do something equally as great. And you will learn to be proud of yourself. So, okay, that got way too preachy. Super sorry about that. Thank you for listening to this first Pat podcast with its original name. If you liked what you heard, we'd always love a subscription, subscribe, or just tell somebody that you think might like what I'm saying. And watch our other stuff. I have t-shirts if you want a t-shirt. I have a t-shirt. Thank you for watching. Really do appreciate it. And hopefully you say nice things. Farewell. Oh, and I always do this for some reason. I don't know. I picked that up because I was in ROTC. I used to salute, but now I do that. I'm so sorry. That's probably the worst